Hi, welcome to Clubs and Culture for, I don't know when to get this up, but it's currently 9/5/2018. Okay, so moving on to the next Best Picture winner. It's the Broadway Melody, which came out in 1929. It's one of the very earliest movie musicals. It was the first musical to win Best Picture, obviously, because it was the second Best Picture winner. It's not a very good movie. Because the direction is so bad. It's very, very flat and pedestrian, and it's basically, for the musical numbers, basically filmed stage shows. But it's a clear improvement over a lot of the early movie musicals in that there's a story and not just a series of vaudeville acts, and then the story. The theme song and everything like that is just thematically integrated. I ultimately sort of like this film, despite the fact that it's very, very creaky and pedestrian in its direction, and the acting is very, very hammy. I think the reason for that, so the story is basically a sister act being divided by two different love triangles. Because Hank and Queenie are two sisters who are following a rags to riches story, and then they're both sort of in love with this man named Eddie, and Queenie is going out with this other guy who's a parody of Jack Warner of Warner Brothers Studios, because this is an MGM film, and there's sort of a biting commentary there. Or in joke about Jack Warner, who was an executive at Warner Brothers. Any case, so Queenie is dating him to spare both Eddie and Hank's feeling, and it's that sort of melodrama juxtaposed with them putting on our stage show, which is supposed to be Ziegfeld. I mean, that's not the character's name, but it's a parody of Ziegfeld Follies, which is this famous vaudeville series of performances in around the turn of the in the 1920s. In fact, one of the Best Picture winners coming up is actually about that guy, though this is a parody. And so there's that. It hasn't really aged all that well, but the thing I like about it is there's a ton of bones of the musical genre. Backstage politics, larger-than-life characters, melodramatic romance, the theme song, because the Broadway Melody is actually the main song. It's sung 3-4 times by various characters. It's very, that song's okay. But overall, this movie's just kind of shitty. Unfortunately, we don't actually have the original version of it, because there's I'll probably show a little bit of this, but there's a sequence of it. Which was in actually two-tone Technicolor, but we only have it in black. Well, it's not black and white. It's tinted yellow now, but black and white footage. So overall, he only won Best Picture. It's a little bit sad that time does this to films, but with that being said, it's really easy to see why this one won Best Picture. Because of it being in 1929 was the film it was released. It's right when talkies or sound films were coming in, and a musical that actually integrated music into the plot and not just a series of stage shows, etc. was sort of this wow, gee whiz technological innovation, and that's something that was really easy to latch onto. I wish it would have been ultimately a better movie, but you can't have everything. So let me pause there and bring up the trailer and some clips. Okay, so in actual fact, the trailer doesn't exist. I'm just going to show a couple of scenes to talk about the direction. So this is, sorry for no music, but copyright. So this is sort of the main Broadway Melody musical scene. It's sort of the first act piece, sort of the big center stage. And again, if you watch the sort of the sets and then the choreography, that's all okay. The issue is it just keeps going back and forth from this wide shot to a medium shot, and that's basically all it does, and the camera is not moving and everything like that, and it's a very flat sort of style of direction, where it's just visually not all that interesting, especially since in this case the background's not changing at all, and even though that's sort of a nice Art Deco-ish stagecraft, that was not, not necessarily the greatest thing in the world. And apparently I forgot to remove. Okay, so here we go. Here's the other set. So again, you look at the choreography with these dancers in the background. It's sort of nice, and at least there's movement there. And then it being a black and white film, they're going to end up crossing black over white. Okay, so black is moving to the right and white is moving towards the left. And again, that's fairly visually interesting, but the camera itself is very, very static. And it's such a primitive version of this that it's not all that great. It's only towards the end of the scene you start getting a little bit better construction, because there's going to be a specific dancer that's going to come in a couple of moments, and you're finally going to get like a close-up of her feet. But again, once you go into that close-up, it's just not shot very, very excitedly. It's very, very static, and some of this is technological because the cameras were huge back then and they were hard to set up and everything like that. This is what they meant. So the shot's going to stay here, and again, the dancing itself is pretty good. It's just not very interesting direction. I do like the fact that she apparently has cat ears, because that's kind of hysterical to me. So there's that. And this movie could have been so much better with a more daring director. I mean, again, some of it's technological camera, some of it's budget. This movie was made on the cheap because they weren't sure if people would like this sort of movie, because again, it's a very, very early musical, and they didn't necessarily want to invest a lot in it. With that being said, even here, even though it's still a musical, and given who I am, I still rather enjoy the choreography and everything like that. Okay, so let me just pause here. Okay. And again, the director, Beaumont is his name, uses like the frame well with internal action. His camera's so dead. Okay, so the next scene I'm going to show, I'm specifically showing this guy has a lisp, and he comes across as very, very effeminate. And the thing is, it's the theater. It is sort of the Roaring *20s. In Germany at the time, there was an active and vibrant gay community. So I feel like this might, and again, he's trying on a woman's coat and everything like that. And this scene, I'm going to show another scene about him in a moment, because I'm wondering if this is supposed to be like a gay in-joke, because he's the costume designer. And this is him coming in now, and he's going to complain about their wrecking his hats, which seems very, very bitchy. About everything, but specifically this woman, she's going to make a joke about how if it was up to him, it would have been lavender. The doors would have been lavender, which, lavender seems very, very sort of gay. Okay, so this is probably the best dance in the film, and this is also the section of the film which has lost the two-tone. At one point, this was supposed to be in two-tone, or it was in two-tone color. But again, directorially, it just doesn't come alive, because, Beaumont just keeps his camera very, very still and basically moves between this wide shot and then medium shot. And while he does compose the choreography mostly okay within the frame, it's just not a very alive film. And so in a lot of ways, this film comes alive far more when the music isn't happening, and that's kind of problematic when it comes to musicals, because musicals, the main sort of focus should be the music, sort of the spectacle of it. And again, I wonder how much this sequence, when not having it in two-tone color, how much of it actually lost. And then this is also sort of a good example about how they were at least trying to integrate, at least thematically, the songs, because this is a wedding song, and it's all about, like, that's the preacher coming along, blah blah blah, and then the scene is basically a wedding. Well, it's foreshadowing that at the end of the movie that Eddie and Queenie are going to be married, because at the end of this sequence, Queenie and Hank get into a huge argument, and that argument, it's the start of the climax, which eventually leads to Queenie marrying Eddie, and everything like that. I will say this, the other thing, this song is much better than the other one. A lot of it has to do with, there's a little bit more cutting, and it's in rhythm with the music, but it's also a better use of, it's not quite depth of field or deepness of the shots, but there's much more, because it was basically in the first sequence, very two-dimensional left-right choreography. This has depth to it, because as silly or cheesy as it is, you got the people in the back, then you have sort of a foreground, mid-ground stuff, and it's at least visually more interesting, and it helps. And so this is probably the best scene in the movie. So like I was saying, ultimately I don't think this is a very good movie. I end up giving it a 7 because of historical context and then sort of innovative. What I really like about it is, if you are a fan of musicals, it's really easy to see. One, a lot of the songs were recycled into other musicals, but it's really easy to see sort of the bones of the genre. Like, this is like a baby musical, and it's sort of an awkward, creaky old baby, but it's ultimately very, very historical curiosity because of that, because you get to see so much of the musical genre in it. Okay. Like I was saying, you get to see so much of the genre's bones and precursors and how they mature and everything like that. So if you're a student of the musical, the film feels so dated because you see so many other films in it, especially since the songs recycle. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. Have a nice day. Cups and Culture out.